We're on. We're live.
Good afternoon, good evening. I keep doing that. Good evening, all. Um, yes, yes, brilliant. I am sorry I'm late. I lost the plot. I was looking at something. Then I'm following the court case at the moment on YouTube, and it's about the shooter and killed 17 children. Gosh, there you go. And I've been watching that. It's intriguing. Anyway, getting back to tonight's guest. We got Helvis here. Oh no, it's not. It's Mark Memphis. Yes, hello, Mark. All right,
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are
Good.
you?
I'm fine.
Okay,
It's Monday and we're here.
it is Monday and we're here again. Okay, so what I want to talk about tonight is this: should people get capital punishment, such as the a lethal injection, you know, or life, a life in prison, or kind of like the lethal injection, and because there's a great big topic about it at the moment,
hmm
and I was watching Sky News. So, what do you think?
Um, it's a little prickly, thorny issue, is this? But I think it is appropriate in certain circumstances, and I think it should apply to uh, child killers, people that kill children, and I'm also in favour of it for people that sexually abuse children. Um, However, I'm very, very aware that things go on and there can be miscarriages of justice, and I think you've just landed this one on me. I had no idea you're going to ask me this. Quite heavy. Yeah, I think certainly in the case of um, convicted child killers, where there's absolutely no shadow of a doubt that they're guilty, that they've done it. There's
Mm.
there's no place in society for people that can do that to children. Um, but then that opens up a can of worms, because then people might say to me, "But why stop at children? Why not bring it back for murderers? Why not bring it back for you know for this and for that?" I can only speak from a personal point of view, and when I hear stories, see the news, and it involves the death of a child at the hands of a maniac, I just it's a view that I've had for many, many years, for quite a long time. I just can't see any use for these people in society. Why are we spending money keeping them in prison? They'll never be released. Just just
Mm.
get rid of them. Just get rid of them. And I think also, I mean, I said that about child abusers. That might seem quite extreme because they haven't killed the child, but again, these people are, from what I can gather, you can't, they can't be helped. They can't be redeemed. I mean, I know you've got things like um, chemical castration, for example. That might be the answer. But why stop at chemical castration? Get it chopped off.
Oh, you're
Um,
looking at pedophiles. You're looking at pedophiles now, aren't you?
Paedophiles, yeah. And that's probably from a personal point of view, because that appalls me, and that absolutely ties me up in knots when I hear of that going on. Again, I can't see what use we have for these people in society. Like, I mean, we put when an animal is sick, and I know those arguments about capital punishment were supposedly in a civilized society. But in this civilized society that we live in here in Britain, when an animal is sick, we take it to the vets and we have it put down. We have it put out of its misery. And and I think the same should apply to, you know, paedophiles because they're sick. But that's only my personal view. And it's
Right.
not based
Okay.
on me knowing the facts of it or of anybody's individual case. I just think that these people should be wiped off the face of the earth, basically. I don't think we've got any use for them. Why keep, like child killers, why keep them in prison for year after year after year when all they're going to do is reoffend, as we see most of them do? But there you go. And I thought that's the only, that kind of crime involving children is the only thing that I personally would advocate the death penalty for. I mean, if somebody went out and murdered my brother, who's a year younger than me, he's 52, of course my natural reaction is going to be, you know, whoever's murdered him, they should have the death penalty. They should, you know, and that's the thing. Where do you stop with it? It's a very, very complicated and emotive thing. But I think the thing that would flag up a warning to me, even in relation to child molesters or child killers, you would have to be absolutely 100% sure of that person's guilt. And sometimes that's not a very, very easy thing to, to point at, really. What do you think, Steve? What's your view?
Well, my view is different than yours because I got beliefs, but my view is like I reckon they should demolish the death penalty.
Demolish it.
Yeah, I reckon they should get.
Are you talking about worldwide? Because obviously we don't have it in the UK. So you're talking about in America and wherever else.
I'm not looking on. I'm not looking at kind of like pedophiles. I'm looking at killers. Anybody who goes to court and has a trial and they kind of get guilty and it's for the death penalty because in law they have to have two trials. One trial is for the guilty plea part, and the other two is whether they're going to be death penalty or it's going to be in prison for life. Right, so that's the two. So they've got up to two trials. But I think to myself I think they should get rid of the death penalty. That's my view. All right, that's my view.
It's a take that as a Christian view. Then that's because of your religious beliefs.
Yeah,
is that what you're? Yeah. Which is fair enough.
But what I would say is this: that also I can see your point of view about kind of like prisoners being in prison for life, because people will then argue about the taxpayers paying for them to be in there, and it's a waste of time because they're not going to be reformed. They're going to come out and commit, do things again and everything else like that, So I totally agree there, but I think in some prisons now, I know Strangeways does it, and I know Dartmoor does it, and there's another one, but I can't remember what. Wandford. They have got like a kind of like a system now where you will be kind of like trained or be kind of like put into another be sent to a place.
Yeah.
Be sent to a place and they will kind of like scare you by doing a mock
execution.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Right. So that's another thing. So that's the other thing. But I don't think people should be kind of like electrocuted or kind of lethal injection. But that's my point of view, and I stick with that. I think, yes, they should, if they've done something wrong, if it's, if they touch somebody in an appropriate way or whatever, and a paedophile does get, kind of like sent to prison. I say
Mm.
this, that, at the end of the day, they should, you know, do their sentence, and that's it. Now, a long time ago, if you asked me the same question, I would say, well, just shoot all of them. That was
Mm.
my point of view, right? But I don't know, if I asked Mark what to do with a paedophile, she would just say, well, just there you go, shove them up by the balls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
String them
I
up.
think at the
So
very, very least, a convicted paedophile, and again, if it's absolutely cut and dried and they've done it and there's no question of that, I think they should be castrated, and I think they should be medically castrated, not chemically. I don't think they should be given an injection to render them. I think they should have it cut off, but then you get women paedophiles, so what do you do with them? It's
well, I'll tell you what. I tell you what. In the what's it called? Not in India, they either chop the hand off. This is true. They
mm,
chop the hand off, or they will chop the penis off.
mm.
They would do something to the penis. That's what they do in India. Now, whether that kind of sorts them out and say they don't do it again, that's another story. But
Yeah, I mean, I think as well that the whole basis of any penalty or punishment for a crime, whether it's prison, whether it's a fine, or whether it's death by execution, it should really serve ultimately as a deterrent, really. And I think certainly in the case of, certainly from what I can see in England, I think far too many of these paedophiles and child perverts, they get ridiculous prison sentences, or they don't get sent to prison, they get let off with a warning not to do it again. And I think that's the thing that's possibly stoking up within me what some might consider to be quite an extreme viewpoint about, just get rid of them, wipe them
right,
off the face of the earth. There's no use for them, because I don't have much much faith in the criminal system anyway. Certainly in relation to these people, I mean, in terms of murder,
you don't have much faith in the authorities or the government. Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah, and I think rarely the and I never, I think it's very rare that the punishment actually fits the crime. And I know I'm not alone
Yeah.
in that. We all gasp when we hear of what somebody's got for that, or what somebody's got for this. I think life, if somebody's given a life sentence, it should mean life, because it's all
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
deterrent. Um,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
then I mean, there's a whole thing of mental capability, and was that person in control? Were they mad rather than bad? I know that's a whole different ballpark, is that. But by and large, I think even people who are in quotes mad, um, we all have a sense of what's right and what's wrong. And
Yeah.
it applies to any crime, whether if you're thinking of stealing a Mars bar from the local shop, or whether you think you're going to attack a lady in an alleyway or kill somebody, you've got to be absolutely prepared to accept the consequences of what you've done. And I don't, and I think, and that's why I'm so frustrated with the criminal system, the law and courts and prosecutions and the police. Everything's so underfunded as well. That's a whole different ballpark. But I just don't think the deterrent is there. I really
Right.
don't.
Okay.
I think it's woefully lacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I was to go to the shop tomorrow and decide I was going to steal a Mars bar, I would be and I was caught. I would be expecting to be in I'd be expecting to be in prison. You know, that's the way that I was brought up, to respect the law and to fear consequence.
Yeah.
And I just don't think there is enough of that. But again, I mean, that's a whole broader issue.
Yeah,
And maybe that, and again, that's probably why I might have a very black and white, very extreme opinion of what should happen to child molesters.
No. Yeah, no, but
I'd probably extend the same as well to people who are cruel to animals as well. You know, while we're at it. But again, it's a very, very personal thing. Do I think somebody that's murdered somebody, should they be put to death like they used to be? I don't know. I really don't know.
Right. Okay.
And that's why it's a little bit tricky for me, really, to have quite a fixed viewpoint about it. I think it's because there's no debate at the moment, and it's just one of those things that flashes into your head now and then. Your natural human reaction when you hear. Well, I mean, like for example, those two people that got imprisoned last week for the torture and death of the child. I think were they Ukrainian?
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
my natural reaction to that was get both of them, in the electric chair or what have you, with no use for people like that. But then I back off from that, and I just hope that they get a tough time in prison.
Yeah, that's it. Every day people are executed and sentenced to death by the state as punishment for a variety of crimes. Sometimes for acts sometimes for acts that should not be criminalized. In some countries, it can be for drug-related offences. In others, it is reserved for terrorism-related acts and murder. So
in some countries, you can get executed for being gay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think in the Islamic State, when we had all these ISIS videos that were appearing as propaganda things, they were throwing people off buildings for being gay to the deaths.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Now,
anyway,
listen to this part. Some countries execute people who were under 18 years old. When the crime was committed, others used the death penalty against people with mental disabilities, and several others applied the death penalty after unfair trials. Now, you were saying to me earlier, sometimes, the courts get it wrong, and they send innocent people to the electric chair or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're totally right about that. But what would you do? What do you think about the terrorism? Do you think these people who are committing these crimes, do you think if they don't get sent back to their own country and be kind of like being kind of like up into their courts, be kind of like condemned by their court?
Yeah.
And if they stay in this country, what do you think should happen to these people who does the terrorism? Do you think they should be sent off to America and kind of like be executed?
That's a tough one, is that? See, my gut reaction to that is, again, probably on the same lines of, when somebody's so far gone and to the point where they're dangerous and they don't care who they take with them. I'm talking about terrorists now, suicide bombers and all the rest of it. Or, I mean, if I could wave a magic wand, I'd probably say just send them all to some remote island in the middle of nowhere and just leave them. Again, I can't see any use for these people in society. What's prison going to do? Is it going to stop them? Probably not. Send them back to their own homeland, which is probably where they were radicalized and had these strange ideas sort of like cultivated in the heads. Is that the idea? Is that the solution? I don't know. Um, it's quite difficult, isn't it, really,
Yeah,
to say what I mean. Again, I would file them under, let's say, terrorists.
yeah, yeah,
You know, these are dangerous people that don't care who
yeah.
take down with them. Um, what is the deterrent? Well, they don't have a deterrent because you know, by and large,
They don't
that they're
care,
going
do
with
they?
they're going with the intention of killing themselves. There's no consequence for them after they've done the act. So
I just
that's a
don't
bit of a weird
understand
one,
it.
really.
I just don't understand that. They're going to go out, right, and they're kind of like going to commit offence. And they're going to kill a lot of people, and they're going to kill themselves at the same time. I
Well,
don't
I
see.
mean, there's all this talk, isn't there, about? I mean, and I don't know if this is true, and I don't know if this is the case for you know, if we're talking about Islamic terrorists and you know acts of violence from that particular part of the world, don't they have this notion that it's all for the greater good what they're doing, and
Oh.
when they die, they're going to be rewarded. There's going to be something like 18 virgins waiting for them or something like that. There's going to be some reward in the afterlife.
Wow.
Now, like I say, I don't know how, you know, this is what you hear people say.
Yeah.
I don't know what these people, how they're radicalized and what they're told, because ultimately, like you will as a Christian, um, I mean, do you have belief that there's something afterlife? Do you think there's an afterlife?
Of course I do. I believe.
Yeah, of course you do. So you're going and you go through your life like I suppose like even like I do as a non-practicing Catholic. There's part of me that still believes that if I live a good life, when I eventually do kick the bucket, I'm going to go up to heaven and I'll be rewarded with eternal life and all the pleasure and all the
Yeah.
grandeur of heaven, and there'll be people waiting for me and all the rest of it. These people are
But we.
told
But I don't.
that
I
there's
don't.
this and there's that.
Yeah. See, the trouble is with people who are Christian people, they don't know what's. They don't know about heaven. All they can know about is what they find in the Bible and things like that. And
Yeah.
what they do is, me and thousands of other people, we live on faith. We just hope that there is an heaven. We hope, that there is a place where afterlife that we all go. See, and,
Mm.
and that's put down on faith because no one has seen heaven. No one's been there. No one's been on the rocket. Probably kind of like somebody I know in Essex is probably been to heaven. You know, but no, I'm really joking. But
Mm.
you get what I'm trying to say. So we don't
Yeah, I
know.
do.
So us Christians, what we do is we believe that there is going to be an heaven. So by faith and by kind of like going to church or whatever, we kind of like say, okay, there's going to be an heaven. So that's how we work. But what I'm trying to say with this is about execution is this that um, let me say something to you. In 2021, most known executions took place in China, Iran, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, sorry, and Syria. Okay.
Mm.
Now, who is the leading world's leading executor? Who do you think?
I always thought it was America. Am I right or am I
No,
wrong?
sorry, China.
China, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It says here but the true intent of this use of the death penalty is unknown at this data is classified as a state secret. The global
Mm.
figure at least is 579 executions, like the thousands that are already in Asia. So, well, there you go. But what? See, you're trying to say to me now is like, say you would say, right? Oh, well, if they committed a crime, or they killed somebody, or they kind of like played with children and things like that, pedophiles, you know, send them to, kind of like send them to the execution chamber. Is that what you're trying to say to me?
Um, like I said at the start, I have that view in relation to whenever I hear
Mm,
about child killers
mm,
and or child abusers,
mm,
um, and that seems to be a default reaction that I have, and that's probably just based on emotion, repulsion, and anything like everything that's associated with that. Um, I don't have a fixed view on what should happen to murderers, except life in prison should mean life in prison. Um, Terrorists, I've always been of the view that just they're no good to anybody. Just send them off somewhere and let them be forgotten. Let them blow themselves up if that's what they want to do, but let them do it away from the rest of us. I don't think you can de-radicalize anybody. There's going to be one or two liberal-minded people that probably think you can, but I think sometimes I think these people are just wired the wrong way, basically, and I'm more interested in the rights and the well-being of people who go about their lives and go about their business without any need to disrupt um, or harm others or harm their democracy or their way of life. Um, but again, the whole thing with going back to the paedophiles, like I said, it isn't just a black and white view that I've got. That just just wipe them off the face of the earth, because it isn't as simple as that. Because you got to be absolutely sure. You know, it's a tricky one because and again, I said it earlier. It's not. This is just something you've landed on my lap as we started talking tonight. So I've not had time to give it any great thoughts. What's reeling me in? What's keeping me from taking the absolute plunge and saying yes, we must do this? You see, part of me is thinking again, and compared to some other places in the world where execution appears to be, rife. You mentioned them there, China. You mentioned other countries which we in the West, quite wrongly sometimes, assume to be a little bit unsophisticated compared to us. We're supposed to be the more civilized society in the West, and is that the thing that's stopping me from fully endorsing the death penalty? I don't know. So
mm.
it's an odd one, really.
How do you think the death penalty should be legal in the UK?
Again, yeah, for certain circumstances, I think I do. Um, Again, child killers, and certainly, yeah, definitely, because prison is supposed to be a corrective facility where
Yeah,
people are rehabilitated. So people ultimately, at some point in their lives, are supposed to come out of prison after X amount of years. But then we have these killers who will never be released from prison. Ian Huntley,
mm.
is it Ray Whiting, the guy who abducted
Yeah,
Sarah
yeah,
Payne?
yeah.
Um, Myra Hindley and Ian Brady when they were alive. What's the point of keeping people like that alive to die in prison? What is the point?
Mm.
Just you know, yeah, it's a strange one, Steve. It really is.
Yeah, sorry for bringing it on to you, but
No, it's not. No,
I,
it's good actually. It's good because it's getting me thinking, and I've actually started backtracking a little bit. I think and questioning my own foundations in terms of how I react to certain news stories. Yeah, it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
It's good. It's good, really, sometimes to have a little bit of inner turmoil and a bit of inner conflict. To wonder if you're actually, because I'm speaking these words quite publicly. I don't know who's out there listening, so it's not like a chat between you and I over a pint in a pub and nobody else can hear it. So I'm very aware that what I'm saying is going out there.
If you were kind of like in a pub right now, would your attitude change? By saying, yeah, let's send all these, pedophiles, and let's send all these killers to the execution chamber. Let's get rid of them all. No,
I don't think I think my view would be the same if it was just you and I in a pub as it is now. If I was doing a show on Saturday night and somebody from the audience shouted, "What do you think should happen to paedophiles during one of my shows?" I would say, kill a lot of them. That would, and I'm not particularly what's the word? I'm not embarrassed to have that view, and I'm not. I'm quite open about how I feel about it, really.
Well,
so no, I don't think it would make any difference in what arena or what forum, I would say these things in.
Well, you just opened a tin of worms here, because on my radio page it's going crazy. On here, it's not very much, but on my radio page it's kicking off, because they're saying Mark's right, Mark's right, Mark's right, Mark's right. How dare you, Steve, say that about people, if they committed the crime, they got to pay the time and things like that. And I'm getting loads of things. Well done, Mark. Tell them, string them up, I say. Kill them. If anybody got a shotgun, let me do it. I'll definitely do it. Things like that. So, it's kind of right. But some people do, in some prisons, Mark, some people actually do change their lives. Do you know that?
Yeah, I'm not denying that. And I would probably, but we're talking about, for me, we're talking about rehabilitation here, as you are just there, and you can know right from wrong, and you've got two choices through life. You can either be right about it, or you can deviate from that and go against what's good and what's the law. But I genuinely believe, from what I hear and what I see about these repeat offenders in terms of child abusers and child murderers, these people are wired the wrong way. There's something deficient about them in the head, and I don't think. I'll put it this way: if you went to prison, Steve, right, and do you think you could be rehabilitated into becoming homosexual? Because I couldn't.
I would never be homosexual.
No, but what I'm saying is, because we're talking about people that have got a sexual interest in children and then to kill them. If you have got that into your head and into your desires and into your absolute longing for your passion and all the rest of it, it's children. How on earth are you going to be rehabilitated out of that when you'll know it's wrong? Because the majority of them do it covertly. They'll kidnap or they'll groom on the internet or what have you. It's never done in a direct, open way, so they know what they're doing is wrong. So it's almost like rehabilitating somebody away from having sexual desires about children. How do you do that? Because in the same instance, how could that not work then to rehabilitate you or I, if we ever went to prison, into away from heterosexual desires, into desires for something else? How do you do that when it's part of your makeup? We're not talking about right or wrong. Yeah, people can get rehabilitated away from drugs, away from crime, i.e., stealing or violence, even. Although violence, that I can imagine even those that come out and they've gone through anger management and all the rest of it. That it's still quite a struggle for them. But we're actually talking about something that's within them. It's something that's part of their makeup. They've got, again, I think they've been wired up wrong, and I can't see how anybody can be rehabilitated away from wanting to do that to children. I genuinely can't. I don't see how it's possible to rehabilitate somebody away from their instinctive desires, however wrong or right they may be. And that's what I think, really, in relation to that.
I don't have a kind of like a with children concerned. I used to say to people, well, string them up by the balls and just, kick them into touch. But I don't think about children. It's not in my nature to think about children. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, and rightly so. But you see what I'm saying, Steve, about if you're talking about people being able to change, whether it's in prison, whether it's in rehab, whether it's in counselling, in a doctor's surgery. And yeah, you're right, that can happen. And you can have some corrective behavioural processes put to you, and you work on them and you put them into practice. And if you're that inclined to want to change your life and to get away from the path that's got you into trouble, most people can do that. But we're not talking about that here in terms of paedophiles. We're talking about actual what's instinctive to them. They never think they're doing anything wrong. The justifications that they have for what they're doing. When you hear about it, it's absolutely it's disgusting. But I'm repeating myself now. I don't
condone it. I think it's terrible. And I do. But I do think, a small amount of people can change their lives around if they want to, only if you want to. Now, let me explain to you. I know somebody who is addicted to prison. He would do anything. The last time he had his own house or was around about 6 years ago. Right? He's always in and out of prison,
Yeah.
Christmas time, right? Christmas time on the 22nd of every time, he kind of, what he does is he commits a crime and he gets sent off to prison because they got it easy in prison. They got it easy. They really have got it easy in prison.
You have,
right?
Yeah.
Right. They got a television, right? They get kind of like phone calls, phone cards, everything. They get all the luxuries and everything. I know this. I've been told this by someone who I know who works in prison, and the trouble is, they're in there in prison for punishment. Now people are saying to me, "Oh, but Steve, why are you saying this? You're supposed to be a Christian, right?" No, I do. I kind of my belief's my belief, but what I'm trying to say, I see good and bad in kind of like in so many ways. Once people go to prison, they commit offence. They should go to prison, Christian or not. They should go and they should kind of like spend. They should do their time, and they should do but they should not have any luxuries. They should not have a TV. All right, they should be punished for what they've done.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about earlier, Steve. That's the complete lack of faith that I have in the system, because I think there's absolutely no consequence. Yeah, for some, I mean, if I went to prison for something I'd done and I deserved it, rightly so. But I wouldn't care if I had a TV or if I didn't. I'd be missing my children. I'd be missing, you know what I mean? And I would not survive in prison. I would not be able to cope with it. I'd be terrified of what each day would bring.
That's it.
And that's how I would be. But I know a lot of people aren't, and they don't care. There's just no consequence. There's no fear of consequence. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a fear of consequence. And I think even if the death penalty was a possibility for an absolutely sickening, disgusting crime, whether it's been a mass murderer of adults, there you go. I'm widening my net now, to child rapists or repeated rapists or what have you. If that was a possible consequence, and if life meant life, if that was an actual consequence, and if these young offenders weren't going to go to prison knowing there's an Xbox waiting for them and drugs coming in and full internet access as if they're on the outside world, if that was, you know, it'd be just very interesting to see what, you know, there's nothing wrong with being governed by a fear of consequence. It's a different thing to being governed by fear and oppression. That's a different thing. We all need to know that everything we do has a consequence, whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence. And I think in terms of the law and in terms of punishment, I don't think there is any, by and large. So,
well, there you go, folks. And what do you think? You know, people listening on the radio now. Do you think, you know, capital punishment should capital punishment be, you know, made legal in the UK? What do you think? Let me know your questions and stuff. No, sorry, your answers. If you've got any questions, let me know. And also, do you think, you know, that what's your views? Are you a Christian? Do you think people shouldn't kind of like be kind of receive the death penalty? Do you think that's totally wrong? You know, some Christians might think, well, they should do, and some people shouldn't. Will say, well, yeah, you know, it's gonna happen. You know, what is your kind of like views? I'd love to hear your views. So what I want to do is I'm going to get your views and come back next week, and I'll kind of like read them out. I know people are leaving it now. Leave me a lot of kind of like comments. Mark, you're totally right. I believe that they should, for capital punishment, shouldn't be a legal injection. What they should do is put against the wall and shoot them all. I think it's totally disgrace. I think the prison system is corrupt, and every time I see about hear about prison, I find it very tough. You We might as well go into prison for an holiday. They got more than us out here in the world. In prison, they got everything. Well, which is right, isn't it? Come on, you know what I mean? You know, they even get paid for kind of like working in the prison, get the tobacco and everything. Then when they leave prison, they get a travel warrant or a kind of like, I think it was someone got £104 or something for the transport home. You know what I mean? It's you know, it just makes me you know. But there you go. I put my hands up, guys. I know, but you know, it's you know I've got my views too. You know, people. You know. Anyway, Mark, thank you very much for joining me, and you know that was really good. You know, so make sure you don't do nothing wrong, and don't nick that wig as you be in prison.
well,
You've
I've
got
got we've got views about that, haven't we? Should be
oh yes,
consequences for wig wearers, yes.
yes. I should be wearing it for life. That wig in prison. Your sentence will be 22 years in a wig factory making wigs.
22 years hard labour in a wig factory. Oh, could you imagine
That's
that?
what it'd be.
Now that's a punishment.
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine it? Go on Facebook Live and go, right, what wig is it now?
Oh my God, could you imagine? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, come down and shoot us, wouldn't he? Anyway, guys, gotta go. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mark.
All right. I'll see you next week, Steve.
Yeah, you enjoy the rest of the week.
You too. And goodbye, everybody, and be good.
Yes, and keep your wig on.